you are listening to the Kinetic Man Podcast. I'm Stuart.
And I'm David, and we want to walk with you on the journey to living a life defined by uncommon action that is full of purpose, adventure, and meaningful relationships. Our goal is to refine our why while helping you find yours, and together achieve our best and highest purpose. In the end, we'll drive each other to leave the potential life behind and become kinetic men.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Stu. I want to tell you about a really cool opportunity coming up in September that we've been invited to join our friends at Cairn Leadership. You've heard the CEO, Knight Campbell, on our podcast before, and he invited us to come do a 2-day all-inclusive leadership summit where we explore the ideas of masculinity and leadership with them. We're going to dive into topics like emotional intelligence, decision-making, and communication through the lens of being a man. And we're going to spend all day on Saturday climbing Mount Ida, which is a 12,800-foot peak in Rocky Mountain National Park. And we're going to sit around a campfire, and we're going to hang out, and we're going to talk about all things leadership from the lens of being a man. It's going to be a really, really cool time. If you want to join us, you can go to cairnleadership.com. cairnleadership.com. That's C-A-I-R-N leadership.com. Go to their services page, click on Leadership Summits, and you'll find the one here in Colorado, September 6th through 8th. Cool news is also we got a discount code for you. If you go through us, you can go to the checkout page and click in TKM25 for a 25% discount. There's only 12 slots available, so hurry up. Come and join us. There'll be a link in the show notes. We'd love to see you there. Now go take action. I'll start this conversation. Before we hit the record button, David, you were pedaling around. I don't know what you were doing, but Kevin asked a really important question about the background of our podcast for all those YouTube subscribers out there, like all two of them.
Just blowing up, dude. Mom,
yep.
Mom, this is for you.
Mom number 2, this is for you. We were talking about backgrounds. We were talking about wall color paint. It's a very important decision to make, and we went with 2 different colors. I'm curious, guys, what's your favorite color? Which one do you like, Kevin?
We're talking Sherwin-Williams?
Sherwin-Williams.
Yeah, what it is. Yep.
I like blue number 7327. It's a little bit lighter than what you guys have going on. I know you got like Admiral Blue and then Navy Admiral Blue, which we were just
probably like
talking
Sea Serpent. Sea Serpent, I think that's the one that was called. Sea Serpent.
Sea Breeze.
Sea Breeze. That's the one.
Greg?
Sea Serpent's what you want to avoid on ship.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your go-to?
I gotta go with Stu here. I think I like the darker. So I'm like traumatized though by paint colors right now because we just sold our house over in Colorado, and I swear to God, the person that flipped this house had like put a different sheen of gray on every single wall, and it was just enough where you could tell that it was like different. So we were like having to paint matte. It was dreadful.
Just gotta go with the what's the gray that like we've used it. Oh my gosh, I've used it in my house. It's the most popular color, something gray, like pleasant gray or something. Someone's listening and they're like, dude, it's gray.
Obviously.
Yeah, duh.
Here's the thing, and this is what I was kind of explaining as we started. So like I think it's kind of personality driven, right? You have like the navy thing, the shadow box. It's a little bit brighter, right? And I think it matches personality stuff because Stu, like you look at the gray and you're kind of like, hey, kind of like Eeyore, right? Like Eeyore, like the Winnie the Pooh donkey. And it's just like, oh, and that's just Stu's color. That's what color his background is. So I don't know.
People on YouTube are looking at this like that conversation was that 3 or 4 years ago where they're like, is this dressed yellow or blue?
Or is it blue? Yeah.
And then there's like, they're the same color.
So
well,
good.
Kevin, I like your idea though. Of like, Kevin, you're in California and Greg, you're in Amsterdam, but I like the idea of you guys painting the same color wall, so you have that, so it looks like you're in the same studio. It's a good idea, man.
We've thought a couple ideas of paint color, or maybe distressed wood behind us, having them slant one way on mine and slant the other way on his.
Yeah,
I don't know. Get creative with it. Again, for the 35 YouTube subscribers that we have to entertain them and reward them for their
for their 117 support. Okay,
their patronage,
right?
We need to reward them for their patronage of time.
Exactly.
Hey, well, and and what I didn't realize, and we're actually, for all of our listeners, we're gonna dive deep into color schemes today. Like this is the topic of conversation. We didn't really know. We were just kind of filling it out. But we've got two spec op guys, ninjas, and the topic that we really are passionate about collectively, the four of us military guys, is paint color. So let's dive in. Let's dive in. I'm just excited.
Yeah, hey, for our audience, guys, just give us a little bit of background about who you are, what you do, and Greg, I'll start with you. Give us a little background.
Okay. Yeah, so former Green Beret medic, did 9 years on an ODA. Well, not an ODA, either training or operating to become a Green Beret. And got out in 2021, around the same timeline that Kevin did. We kind of fall into like a eerily similar path where we both ended up in recruiting. He was in the life sciences space. I was in the med tech space. That was kind of our first foray into entrepreneurship. And then we've kind of just gone full ham on the entrepreneur side and started up the Vet Collective together. I also have a startup in the mental health space called Engage, where it's like a corporate communication tool that is going to help people. Basically, it's an EQ coach using AI. So have that going on, and just been having a blast working with Kevin over the last 6, 7 months. And we started the Harder Not Smarter podcast, which you guys were on. Looking forward to airing that episode. Yeah, but that's a little bit about. I got two boys, a wife. I live over in the Netherlands in the Maastricht area, which is about 2.5 hours outside of Amsterdam. And we moved over here for my wife's gig and just enjoying it. And it's been good to kind of be able to prioritize the family and really lean into family life and be there for the boys as they grow up.
Yeah, and before Kevin dives in, I just want to highlight. So Greg is a connection. He was a hello, right? He was it's I think it's a testament to the one and only social media platform that I personally enjoy. Stu, I'm not trying to bash on the others, on the Facebook, the Book of Faces, and
But I thought
the
TikTok.
Insta Life.
I thought
I
TikTok
do
was your
like
favorite.
I like dancing, right? So if you're gonna record it and put it somewhere, TikTok, like I'm down. But really, what it was just a reach out. It was a hello. We connected via Zoom, I think, and then the next meetup we had down in Castle Rock, Greg showed up, and it was awesome. So I just, again, a plug for being willing to reach out, excuse me, say hello, and you never know, you might be on a podcast with somebody in the Netherlands having an amazing conversation. So Kevin, jump in.
Happily. Um, Yeah, Greg hit the nail on the head on that. We had eerily similar paths where he went Green Beret, I went SEALs, but beyond that, it was like this weird parallel path that we were seeing each other on in on LinkedIn. But to jump back a little bit, went to the Naval Academy, it's like you guys, went Marines first actually, and then transferred from the Marines back to the Navy to become a SEAL. Got out in 2020 after about 12 years in service. Uh, 2 weeks before COVID shut everything down in California, literally 2 weeks. It was February 29th, 2020, and then March 13th was when California decided beaches were unsafe for COVID, so you can't go to the beach or the park or anywhere outdoors. So I was trying to navigate that whole weird situation of I just left the military. I thought I was gonna, be making millions of dollars on the outside, and everything's shutting down. And so it took a little bit of time to get my feet underneath me and really figure out what it is I'm going to be doing with my life after the service. And it definitely took some exploration. I worked someplace else as an employee for a little bit less than a year before I realized I did not want to work for anybody else ever again. And that became the mantra of me going forward is how do I make this happen so I can run my own stuff, control my own hours, and not have to ask for permission to take time off or whatever it is. And so on a whim, I quit my job in the span of a week. I started my own recruiting agency. I literally had zero entrepreneurial experience, no entrepreneurial aspirations when I left the military. It was just one of those circumstantial things that it made sense at the time, and I wanted to give it a go. That was 3 years ago now. We've since broadened to coaching entrepreneurship to veterans. We have a newsletter, we have a community, we have a podcast that Greg mentioned, Harder Not Smarter. And we actually just opened up a marketing and branding agency because so much what we were doing revolved around that. We wanted to be able to share those those skills and those assets with other veteran businesses to help bring their brands to life. So we have H&S Media, a throwback to Harder Not Smarter, and we have a third teammate, Christian Nilsson, who's also a veteran doing a lot of the graphic design work. But it's just been a whirlwind of an experience leaving the military. You know, there was no this is going to be my path leaving the military and followed it. I've been all over the place. I've been throwing things out as they don't work. I've been trying random things to see how it pans out, and it's been a continual refinement of what it is that I'm gonna be doing. And honestly, I tell people all the time that I work really hard to work as little as possible. That's the ultimate goal.
That's so true, man. You know, and I imagine, you know, I want to talk about this real quick too. And Greg, I imagine the transition was super easy, right? Like there was no any kind of you know, trauma that you had to work through, or you know, things that you had to you know, self-awareness exercises or anything like that. Just naturally found place, right? Super easy transition.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was super easy.
Yeah, that's great.
Just exactly as you drew it up. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Next question. No, I want to dive in a little bit, Greg, because I think there's a I'll tell you, Stu and I, we had a very good sense for what we thought we had a lot of the critical boxes checked, meaning we had some we'd started a couple companies while we were active duty. I knew where I wanted to live. I had some big boxes that I had checked, and I was never like a, you know, I never saw myself as being identified by the military. Like I was always, you know, Kevin, you can relate to this. I took great pride for 20 years, and most of my enlisted personnel being like, dude, you're an academy guy. Like I would have never guessed. Like I took a lot of pride in that, right? And I just thought I had, I thought I had things lined up. And dude, for the first time in my life, when I got out for the first time in my life, I started experiencing it. Like I came to work one day talking to Stu. I'm like, dude, I got this tight chest thing. Like I feel like I'm like having a heart. Like I don't know what this is. And he's like, dude, that sounds kind of like you might have some anxiety. I'm like, dude, I've never had anxiety. I've never had these things never happen. And when I got out and I thought I was on the path that I really wanted to be on, and I thought I had you know, boxes checked. That's when a lot of things I never anticipated hit me. And I'm still working. It's 2 years later, and there's still things that I'm like, man, I just never thought about that, never dealt with that, never even considered this to be an issue. And you're like a absolute mental health ninja, like one of the most self-aware dudes I know. And you're very passionate about helping others, but you're also a successful dude who's driving hard in the entrepreneurial world, and a guy that people look up to that are transitioning as well, right? And that are active duty guys, spec ops dude. Like, I mean, a lot of the things, just someone that people look up to, that I look up to. But I think it's important to hear, hey, dude, like it's not easy. It's not rainbows and unicorns, and it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And you know, something that I learned, Kevin and I talk about this all the time, is that checking the boxes is the easy part. You know, but it's the thing that we focus on the most. And I get it. I mean, making sure that you're financially secure and having that to rest your laurels on is something you need. But I think there's so much emphasis on get that next job, get that next job, get that next job. Like make sure everything is perfect getting out of the military, crossing your T's, dotting your I's, and when in reality, like the company that if you're going the traditional route of just going into your next career, I mean, the chances are you're only going to be with that company for a year, maybe 2 years. The reality is that you're going to move on to that company from that company really quick. And so like really getting your like heart set on like making sure that this is the perfect job for you, and having like building your transition around that is like 100%, I will say, the wrong answer. I think that, you know, the majority of your time and energy should be really focused on, okay, what am I doing now that I'm going to lose when I get out of the military? So I'm going to lose I no longer get paid to work out. I no longer get paid to hang out with my friends. I no longer get paid to go do fun things and train and you know, shoot guns and all of that. So like, what do I need when I get out? And that's, you know, I need to have a fitness routine. I need to have a community of guys that I can lean on and hang out with and talk to when things get rough. And I need to lean into some hobbies and figure out what I'm going to do on the outside that's going to keep me fulfilled when I'm not out there working. So that to me is the biggest gap in the transition. And man, I had a hell of a time getting out. That's the first time. I mean, I contemplated suicide on my during my transition out. That was a tough tough time, obviously. So yeah, and I did things exactly how I am telling you not to, which is lean into. I was like, okay, I need a job. I had a job lined up. I was working while I was ETSing, so I had everything lined up. Didn't take a break in between service. It was just like full go on to the next thing. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. What's so interesting about all that? I mean, did I similar thoughts process, transition, and like David said, like we had our businesses pretty lined up, man. We had like real estate that was creating passive cash flow, and somewhat got close to replacing our military income, and like the money bucket was was filled, right? Um, but I talk a lot about I have a purpose now of like calling guys that I see on LinkedIn that are like in transition, like transitioning military, transitioning whatever, right? And I found that purpose, purpose or mission, right? Call it what you want, tribe or community, and your calendar. Like you just hit on all of those. And what's so interesting is that isn't talked about at all. Like in any of the military transition, like TAP class or like anything, like no one's talking about this stuff, right? And I think purpose is one of the biggest one because in the military we have a purpose. We're serving our country, right? We're going on mission and serving. We have a service purpose, and as soon as you get out, you're done. Like there's no more of that. And some random 9 to 5 W-2 job isn't going to fulfill that at all. And so Kevin, you have talked about in your introduction, you talked about like being on this journey, right? And still figuring it out. David and I are still figuring it out as well. Like what has helped you? What has helped you with this purpose, you know, after the military to kind of figure out what you've been called to do?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it just on the four of us here. Like both of you guys were '05 retirees, right? You're collecting pension.
Yep.
So you're getting good money in the military. You're '05 retirees. You're getting your pension. You had passive income jobs. You were setting up your own businesses. It's like money set up, money set up. You have jobs, yet all of you guys had um issues transitioning out. Like you have this anxiety and lack of purpose and stuff like it just goes to show that money is not what you need to be seeking when you leave. So many veterans um look at the career on the outside and they're seeing some of the people because that's what people talk about. I'm getting this much money, I'm getting these perks, I've I travel these places for work, and it's all just about what you're getting compensated with work. That's just the easy answer because it's equivalent across the spectrum. Whatever industry you're getting into, whatever job you have, it correlates across the board. So that's what people talk about, but it's never what actually fulfills you. Like no one joins the SEAL teams or the special forces community because they want to get paid a bunch of money. They give us a couple $100 a month to jump out of planes and play with explosives. Like it's not you're not getting fully compensated for that stuff. You're doing it because you enjoy it. It's just the military. It's like here's some extra money because we recognize you're doing something dangerous. Um, and so a lot of veterans try to fill that purpose void with money, and they are very quick to realize that that's not a good fit. And that's why what Greg was talking about, I think it's like 75% of veterans leave their first job within a year because they go into it for the wrong reasons. They don't take the time to sit through and be like, this is what's important to me. These are my priorities. And we talk about this at the Honor Foundation. I use these constantly. The five big priorities that I talk to people about are enjoying what you do, enjoying who you're doing it with, how much time you work, and this could be a few different things. Like, are you traveling a lot for work? Do you have to commute a lot? Enjoying where you live, and then how much money you're making. And the last one I put last because there's a lot of preconceived notions about making a lot of money, but depending on where you are in life, that might be important. Are you trying to buy a house? Are you trying to put your kids through college? Do you have a lot of medical bills? And so you need to have significant income to pay for these things. And these priorities shift through life. But if you don't take the time to see what's actually important, like for me, living in San Diego, here in Encinitas particularly is super, it's like probably number one priority for me. I love being here and I'll find things to do around that because I love the community here. We're less than a mile from the beach, so I can go surfing, we can go hiking. In the same day, you can go to Big Bear to go skiing. You can come back down here, go surfing. You can go hiking. You can go to the desert. You can go to the beach. You can be in the forest, like all within 3 to 4 hours. It's just a remarkable spot. And so I hold that as a extremely high priority for me. Um, I don't want to commute a lot. And so that's why working from home, starting my own businesses was really important. I surround myself with people I enjoy. Christy and Greg are awesome people. And so now I'm working with friends. Like the banter we have on our Slack channel is hilarious. We were just talking about it earlier before we jumped on the show. The Slack channel of random LinkedIn messages from just weird people sending random stuff. But being able to have those conversations and not feel like you're censoring yourself, also very important. Um, and so if people just go into it as I want to have a lot of money and I want to have a cool job, maybe those things aren't that important for you, and then you're going to get burnt out because you're not filling your own bucket.
Yeah, you said something and it struck me. I was listening to a podcast yesterday that had the Surgeon General on there, and so he had released a report last year. I think it was last year. And it was all about the loneliness epidemic, right? And really and also the context of we had a guest on a few weeks ago, and he wrote a book called The Boys and Men. And it's really this focus on his big thing is men right now are it's interesting because women, we focused a lot on women, and his point is like, don't stop doing that, like continue to advocate for women, continue to do the things. He's like, but let's not a zero sum game, keep doing that, and let's shift the focus to men. Like women are outperforming men at a really high pace in school, college, graduation rates, like all of it. And his point is it's not good for men or women that men are suffering. And in the context of that, with you look at suicide rates, it's typically dudes, right? Because we're kind of dumb, like we're kind of Neanderthal, and like we go all in. And
We can put on
so
fancy shirts, but you can't
yeah,
change what's going on
you can't
inside the
change what's
head.
going on, right? But it's interesting because I was listening to this podcast with the Surgeon General, and he was highlighting the stigma of loneliness. And you had talked about people, I wrote down, you said that money shouldn't be the driver, and my words kind of summing yours, compensation is the easy thing to talk about. Like it's an easy measuring stick. It's very easy. And one of the points that he made, he said, like, people feel like if you talk about being lonely, you're automatically admitting to like being a loser. Like he's like, that's the connection, right? It's not, hey man, I'm lonely and like this is a thing. And the crazy thing is most people, especially dudes, feel this loneliness. We just don't want to talk about it because then you're going to think I don't have any friends and there's a stigma, but you're telling another lonely dude, hey dude, I'm lonely, and that guy is really not going to judge you because he's like, yeah, me too, I am too. And it was about the quality of relationships, and I find it fascinating. What I love about what you guys do is you talk about these things because they're real, right? It is exactly you don't have to, you can be surrounded by people, but to your point, Kevin, a top priority, like I want to work with good dudes that I really enjoy hanging out with. And I don't have to censor myself. Dude, trust me, like I can't hit record when Stu and I are bantering because it would probably be it would be frowned upon.
That'd just be your mom as one of your YouTube
E-
followers. She would be upset, but
exactly.
the other YouTube followers would actually probably really enjoy it. They're like,
No, my
they're
mom
being
though, because
real.
I'm myself in front of my mom, so she'd be like, "Oh my gosh, here it goes again," right? Like I love making her uncomfortable. She's my number one audience to make uncomfortable. But the point is, I love how you highlight the priorities. For me, Colorado, that was the number one. Like we're going to Colorado because we love the things we do there. And so I think, the advice you gave is extremely practical because we have to prioritize something. And even if it's a job, like that's cool, that's dope. But like have a reason for the job to be the thing that's a priority that you're going to beyond compensation. Right. So I
hmm
really appreciate you highlighting just practical tools on things to think about. And for anybody transitioning, even if you're not a vet, right? If you're transitioning from anything, from tech, there's going to be a loss of identity. There's going to be loss there. there's going to be sadness accompanying loss, but there can also be celebration in what's to come if you have a vision for what that is. And so I really appreciate you highlighting that. And so tell us, Greg, tell me what you guys are doing this thing, you guys are enjoying getting to do business together. First off, how did that even start? How did you guys make that connection? Army, Navy, right? You guys, I'm assuming you guys didn't serve together. It was a
No.
LinkedIn
You want to know a fun
thing.
Yeah.
fact?
Yeah.
Greg and I have never met in person.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I met Greg once. We had talked a number of times. I met him once, or I guess twice in person before he
Twice.
left. And I'm like, dude, you can't go to the Netherlands, man. This sucks, dude. We're just starting to I'm
Started to
starting to
become
enjoy
like best
hugging you,
friend
man.
status.
Yeah. He's like, that's why I'm leaving, dude. That's why I'm
Yeah.
leaving.
Too close. Too
Too
close.
close.
Stage 5
Too close.
clinger over there.
Yeah, right. But how did this happen, Greg?
Yeah, so I mean, it was literally just we started talking on LinkedIn. I had started a community, MedTech Militia, and when I was recruiting in the MedTech space, and Kevin had thought about, he was thinking about starting up the Vet Collective, and I hit him up and was like, "That's a great idea. You should bring me along with you because I want to do this." And he was gracious enough to say, "Yeah, man, let's do it." And gosh, when are we at 6 months now, Kevin?
Started it in October.
Yeah, I don't do
So
math in public, but that sounds
no,
about 6 months.
I
7 months.
got sandals on for that reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Got to get past
So,
the
so I think it's up, right? Okay. Anyways, yeah. So we started that up, and it's kind of just been an evolution from there. And I mean, obviously Kevin's awesome. Christy's awesome. We're like really actually like hitting the ground running now with H&S Media, so that's been fun. Got our first couple clients that we're onboarding right now, and just seeing the community grow and really just building out that has been a ton of fun, and just being able to collaborate and bring people together to either kickstart their entrepreneurial journey, or be alongside them as they're going along has been a lot of fun, and getting to know Kevin along the way has been a treat.
So,
Yeah,
so what exactly is Vet Collective? I mean, tell us kind of all the details. Like, if there's a guy or gal in the military about to get out or just got out, and they want to go into the entrepreneur space, like how can Vet Collective help them?
Yeah, we really run the full gambit. I mean, we have active duty people, we have veterans from the Gulf War, first Gulf War, not the recent one. We have first responders and law enforcement. We have some FBI people that have come over. So it's a broad audience, and we didn't want it to be too narrow because so many of us have very similar experiences and mindsets that the more we can bring together, the better the overall community is. And honestly, entrepreneurship isn't terribly difficult. It's more of just getting the information in front of you. But what really makes the Vet Collective so helpful, and why so many people have been sticking around as long as they have, is having other people that are going through similar experiences together and being able to talk through it. And it's not just the entrepreneurship side. It's, hey, let's talk about my experiences from the trauma I saw in the military. Let's talk about the issues I'm having right now with my spouse, that I'm having with my kids, that I'm feeling lonely, that I fell off the wagon with drinking again. These are all conversations we've been having in the chat forums, and so people just feel safe and secure bringing things up that they wouldn't normally talk about in a workplace environment. And entrepreneurship can be a very lonely space. Especially if you're a more of a solopreneur or freelance type thing, where it's a team of one. It's just you, and you're showing up to work every day. You're dealing with clients. You're not going to open up to a client. You're not going to open up to contractors you might hire to fill some roles. And so you just feel like all you have are these anxious feelings and concerns, and a lot of the people just want to have a sounding board. Like, hey, is this a good idea of what I'm thinking about doing? Should I go down this route? There's a guy in the community right now. He has a job. He's a W-2 employee with a big company, and he's like, "Hey, am I crazy to want to leave this to go start something on my own?" And but now we can just talk through the the timeline. Like, all right, how are you financially? Do you have the ability to sit 3, 6, 12 months without getting paid? What is your financial security? If you were to do this, do you have a lot of things in place? Can you get started immediately, or are you starting from square one where you're just gonna have to find clients, really define yourself, develop a business plan. How can you do some of this stuff in conjunction with your current job so you can have a little bit of a running start? And that's really what the Vet Collective is. Yes, we have resources, we have education, we have content to help you be a better entrepreneur, but the community side is really what gets people to stay.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's it's fascinating to me that and I imagine for you guys it's similar. The number of conversations that we have about, they typically start, especially among dudes. Hey, what do you do? Like so tell me about your businesses and how quickly you can get to things that like we're truly passionate about. I've not talked about my faith as much in my 20-year naval career as I have being an entrepreneur, right? Because the conversation goes to like whether it's how do you cope, like how are you dealing with this issue, like what's your driver, and it just opens the door to have the real meaningful conversations. And the fact that somebody can go, a vet can go and be like, hey, to dudes that he respects, right? To a community of individuals he wants to be like and respects. Hey, is this a good idea? The power of that is absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And so Greg, I'm curious, as you guys have done this, I think there's a sense that and even it permeates us. It causes us self-doubt as vets. There's this sense that you're military, right? So you just follow orders and you're not super creative and you just do what you're told. Or like I can't tell you how many times I'm like, dude, some of the most creative people I've ever met in my entire life are military guys. Some of the most liberal people I've ever met because it's also, oh, you must be conservative, you must be, all these things. You must be these things. No, no, my experience is vastly different with the people that I've met. And so I'm just curious, have you seen a ton of resistance within individuals themselves in believing that they can do something like this, that they can be an entrepreneur, that they can have a successful, whatever success means to you, um, a life that they truly desire outside of this compensation, having to get a job, provide world?
The only person that I can say who I know for a fact feels like he could do anything after the military is General Petraeus. That guy was like, he was like, when we talked to him about like what's it like after the military, he was like, yeah, I'm doing exactly what I know that I should be doing. This is it. And but everybody else that I talked to, I mean, you spend your entire career taking orders in some form or fashion, and then you get out. So we talked to a lot of people that say, I don't ever want to do that again. But I think that there's a lot of people that are like, how do I make that happen? Um, so, but when I think when you actually like when people get the entrepreneurial bug from the veteran side and they like open that door, they realize they're like, oh, I just need to take my like I can figure this out mentality and just go out and do it because that's all entrepreneurship is just figuring it out on the go and making things up really kind of along the way, which is very similar to what you do in the military is just find a way. You get told you have a mission to do, you go out and accomplish it and find a way. That's it. And I think that once people can really embrace that mentality and lean into it, that's why there's 1/7 of all small businesses are owned by this is Kevin said by
I think it was
veterans.
one out of seven franchises, but it's like 10% of businesses that were opened in 2022 were opened by veterans. And there's only,
Really? I didn't know
I mean,
that.
I've seen all kinds of stats in terms of how many veterans there actually are, but somewhere between 1% and 5% is generally the area. So anywhere from 10 times to two times the general population is opening it up. Uh, Businesses of their own. So it's a staggering number of veterans that get into entrepreneurship, and honestly, it makes sense for what we want.
Yeah, and then if you think about like entrepreneurship through acquisition, even franchising makes sense where it's like you're going to either buy a company or buy an idea of a company that's already established and you're going to figure out their processes and you're going to adopt them, make them better and go out and execute. That to me that seems like very militaristic in style. So it makes sense that veterans end up in this space. So yes, 100% people, tons of apprehension about going into the entrepreneurship space. And it is a leap of faith, but I think that once they do and they latch onto the idea, like that entrepreneur veterans are great entrepreneurs.
And honestly, that the biggest roadblock that veterans, or mental hurdle that veterans, anybody needs to get past with entrepreneurship, is it's not about creating a startup. You're not trying to create the next Facebook or Google or something like that. You don't need to go out looking for venture capital or some other crazy um, uh, form of financing to get your business going. Most businesses do not need to raise capital. Most businesses do not need to come up with a brand new cutting edge technological idea. Anything that you use on a daily basis, you can start a business. And honestly, the best place to probably get into business right now is going to be in the trades. 'Cause I think the average age of a plumber right now is 45 years old. Uh, and so if you
Dude,
can,
that's super young, bro. That's super
yeah.
young. Yeah.
But just think about how
Prime
many
of
people,
life.
but just think about how many people are older than that to drive that number where it is. And so if you can open up a plumbing business, electrician business,
There you go. Spell it out.
landscaping,
Sound it out.
any of those types of things, there's a huge need for those. And a lot of those skilled laborers are aging, and they're gonna want to be retiring or selling their business or whatever it is. And no matter what the economy is doing, whether it's high times or shitty times, you're always going to need, like, your water heater breaks and starts flooding your garage. You're going to need a plumber. You're going to need a restoration company. Your roof starts aging. You're going to need to get a new roof put on. Like, all these things, you don't need to come up with some crazy idea and design a brand new business model. All these things have been tried and tested. Just copy and replicate. And you can start off as a operator owner, or owner operator, however you want to say it, where, hey, you have skills as a plumber, go out there and start a plumber shop and just be the one that goes and services the customers for a while. And then you can hire a junior person to follow you, and they can keep growing it that way. But now it becomes a sustainable growth where you're not trying to get venture capital. You're not trying to take out massive loans that you're indebted to for the next 10 years or whatever. You're actually getting a paycheck while building your business, and then you're learning at the same time. And so it's just this cumulative effect where it takes time to be successful. Most businesses aren't going to be, you know, multi-million dollar businesses within a couple of years, but you're still making good money during that time, and you're building equity in something that you'll potentially be able to sell down the road. Um, and so going into it, knowing that you're not going to raise money, that you're just going to do this thing, is the the most realistic way of getting into business.
We were literally just talking yesterday on our drive down to look at some real estate, and David, his wife just opened up a gym. They bought a business. They were having a weekend celebration, and they hired a bouncy house castle dude. And
Yeah.
David, I'll let you tell the story, but like this bouncy house business,
Killing it. That's all you got to know. Killing it. I was like, what? Tell me the
Yeah.
numbers. And
Buy
he opened up
buy
about the
one
numbers.
thing, and then you repeatedly
Dude,
rent it out over and over and over and over again.
it was amazing. What's fascinating to me is it it always strikes me. So I always talk to these guys, right? Like the guy delivering the bouncy castle. Hey, tell me about this thing that you're doing. And then you're like, oh, you made how much last month? And you're just blown away. Like I had a guy, dude, I'm Latino, I've got tattoos, and I had this guy come put countertops in my house, right? Latino dude, all tatted up. And I made an initial like judgment, right? I was just like, huh. And it wasn't a favorable judgment. And I checked myself pretty quick. I'm like, nah, you know what, dude? Like this guy, asked this guy a question. So I started talking to him, and he's like, yeah, man, I run 4 record labels here locally. I've got this artist, this artist, this artist. I've got this countertop business. I run this thing. I have a sports. I was just like, oh, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. And I had a thought, right? Like I had a thought. And this dude is walking in my house laying countertops, a multimillionaire. Not that that should be the measuring stick, but and he was happy, dude. And I was like, dude, I want some of that, right? So I need more tattoos like you guys apparently, because
They're
whatever
worth
it
it.
is, right? When I told Stu, I'm like, Stu, we gotta make some money because I got my artist for the sleeve. I just gotta get
They're
the money.
expensive. It's just time and money.
It is time and money,
Also,
man.
don't have your friends that open the gym talk to that bouncy ass guy, because they're going to be very upset. Anyone listening, don't open a gym. It is horrendous. Everyone that I know that has opened a gym
One
is
open one.
absolutely
Yeah.
miserable. And
But
they're
if you
like,
buy one that's cash flowing, that's a different story. I will say that. But
I
it's still,
would,
it's
I
not
was,
right. A lot of people think people are killing it that own a gym.
no,
Like I had this conversation with somebody, another business owner at that event, and they're like, "Yeah, you're not killing it." I mean, it just depends on what it means to kill it, right? But back to the other point, my wife, she's a gym rat. It is perfect for her. She loves the community. It's mostly women, it's moms, it's burn boot camp, and these women are beasts. She is. And so there's other aspects of the business that she
hmm
loves, but it has to be that. It has to be that other stuff.
yeah.
So Stu, you had a question. Sorry.
I was just kind of going towards, what have you guys seen, in Vet Collective that have been working really well for veterans? What type of businesses, what, good news stories have you seen, that are just like you want to just praise and shout out, like good stuff happening within your community?
Honestly, it's probably a lot of content creators. Vets have such inspiring stories between, where they came from. And you mentioned earlier that the military community you can't put into a box because it's literally a cross section of America. Where all 50 states plus the territories, every race, creed, socioeconomic situation. Some come from great families that are like Northeast old money. Some come from podunk nowhere, literally lived in a trailer, if they had a house at all. And so you get this fantastic cross section of Americans that are coming in for the shared experience of serving, especially over the last 20 years. All of us joined during a time of war where we knew we were going off to potentially fight in very dangerous areas. And so they come with their own personal experience before they join the military. They have remarkable stories from their time in the military, overcoming adversity to get into the special forces community or to get into this really cool job or this cool place. They saw amazing things. They saw the world. It's, not all of it was the Middle East. Some of them were in Africa. Some of them were Southeast Asia. They've been all over the place. And then they get out and they have these things they need to work through. And so they start a podcast, they write a blog, they have a newsletter. Um, there's so many they paint. We have Invader Girl, her husband EOD. She wasn't military, but she grew up on I think it was Guam for a while, and so she was constantly around those people, and now she's that mentality has become so ingrained in her that her artwork that she does is phenomenal. If you haven't seen her stuff, look up Invader Girl. And so you have all these creative outlets for veterans to now get into that are extremely accessible. You guys are operating off Zoom. You can have a free Zoom account, or it's like $15 a month for the paid one. It's not much. You have an iPhone and a Mac. You can pretty much set up a pretty high quality stuff, and then you don't have to drop a bunch of money for it. It's $20 a month or something like that to set up a newsletter. LinkedIn's free, TikTok's free, Instagram's free. And so you have all this stuff that make it extremely accessible for veterans to create content that is meaningful to them. And then they're pleasantly surprised with how many other veterans attach to it because they're like, I had that same experience, or I had those same thoughts, or I had that same journey. And they want to interact with other people that are doing something similar.
So I wrote down all that could come to mind, but it like really runs the gamut. So we've got one that he's set up an outdoor recreational therapy company. We've got a branding guy. We've got someone opening a brewery, a drone company for taking videos of houses and doing some other surveying. Got a mental health startup. We got Local Vest, which is and you guys know Local Vest? Okay.
Yeah.
So we got
Yeah,
Local
like an
Vest.
investor portal kind of thing.
Yep, exactly. We got a photographer. We've got a leadership consulting company, a couple of financial advisors. We got a film director out of NYU. We've got a podcaster, a ghostwriter. That's just kind of off the top of my head. So I mean, it runs the full gamut of entrepreneurship, which is fun because you get so many different perspectives under one roof that it makes for some pretty interesting conversations. And since we're like there's like not a whole lot of overlap between what we do, like I feel like we're just always farming things out to each other. Like, oh, I have a person for that. I have a photographer, or I have a brand person, or I don't know. We've got our film director like is hooking up with our photographer too to do some like on site shoots and stuff like that. So it's super cool to see all the collaboration that goes on inside the community.
Purpose, community, and you're hitting those two right off the top, right?
Yep.
Those are the voids that you need to fill immediately after leaving the military. I
Yep.
love it, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's so inspiring, and I think what's most inspiring about it is I can picture the individual who just needs that. They say you're one relationship away from your dreams, right? Like from achieving something that is significant for you, and you guys have a community of that, which is so cool. Like I could just imagine the dude that even because a lot of times that confusion and that lack of maybe direction or just somebody to give you that gentle push, it can cause a lot of just despair and overwhelm, right? You're just like, gosh, I feel this burden that I'm supposed to be doing something. I just have no idea what it is and how to do it. Or maybe I know exactly what it is. I just don't know how to do it. And you guys have created a place. And I love that. And I would be remiss to, I want to talk just briefly. I know, man, dude, I got to be mindful of the time because I could, I could keep this thing going for 2 hours. Um, but I want to talk through some of I want to talk about the true impact of community to mental health, right? And the military is a place that this mental health thing is so significant. It's ever present. We've all of us in this call, undoubtedly, I don't even have to ask. I know we have all had close people to us that have died in combat, but I've had more people that have died um through suicide and through just despair, just acts of despair, whatever that is. And we all have had guys that we know that just pop immediately to top of mind, facing addiction and different things. And I can't help but think in some of these cases, in a lot of these cases, if I feel somewhat responsible in the sense of, man, if I just gave them my number and they had an outlet, things would be different. Things would be different. And now I'm not trying to take the responsibility off of anybody or put something on myself that's not there, but there is an aspect that we have experienced within our group, and Stu and I experienced personally, just the ability to pick up the phone and dial a number that I know, a trusted number, has been. I mean, one of the guys in the group was like, he checked himself into a dear friend of mine to outpatient care, and they asked him, and what's the question that was asked? Do you feel, are you going to hurt yourself? Do you feel whatever the question is, right? And he's like, no, I'm struggling. I'm in a bad place mentally and I need help, but I got a group of dudes that I love and I know love me. So I'm not, that's not an option. And like when he told me that story, man, it just like it really hit home. And it wasn't because he and I had a conversation about this. He was telling me after the fact. It was the fact that we have dudes that we can reach out to that's beyond the entrepreneurship thing, that's beyond business. And it's deep that we just have an outlet. And so I just want to talk about that a little bit too. Like this, what have you guys seen just from the community perspective that's literally saving lives?
Yeah, so I
That's a
think this
tough
is
one.
one of the reasons why I talk about mental health so much is that, and this is easily why I do it because it's the most rewarding part is that, talking about mental health and being open about it has opened the doors for some conversations with people behind the scenes that just literally needed to hear somebody that had either gone through something similar or was going through something similar and opening up that wave of communication and then just like letting them know like you dude, I'm a total stranger but like I'm here for you, and having that reassurance I think has helped quite a few people. And then obviously, in every case that I've come across is getting those people to like, hey, yes, you need help. Go, like we need to get you in front of somebody that is a professional, and that usually starts steering them in the right direction. So, but just having somebody to that just is there to listen to you and non in a non-judgmental way and hear you out. I think that having literally just that outlet is the difference between life and death for some people. I know it is. So, I mean, kudos to you. I know what you guys have. I feel it every single time I showed up for one of those lunches, man. Like it is special what you guys have built over at the Kinetic, man. Like, I mean, I just like I leave those get-totogethers and like I just felt like my cup was filled. So again, community, it literally saves lives for sure, 100%.
Yeah, having groups of people around are probably or is probably the single best thing to do. The problem is though that it's tough to get that objective view because you think that you're open up you put your phone number out there, you say on LinkedIn, feel free to reach out, shoot me a DM, whatever it is. And then you have someone like what happened with Bobby Ramirez, who was my last boss before I uh, left the SEAL teams. He was the operations lead at Group One, and then he was leaving there to go take over a SEAL team. He was the commander, and people were talking to him literally the day he went home and killed himself, and nobody recognized anything. And no, there was no note, there was no feedback of like what happened. And the best people can surmise is he felt so alone in that position of command that he didn't have anybody to talk to. Um, but I mean, at work, he was that happy-go-lucky guy. He was always smiling. He had funny stories. He was bantering with us, and so that just takes you back. Like, what more could we have done in that situation? Because there wasn't anything really directed. And so you see things with people where they open up after the fact, like, yeah, I was struggling, and as you mentioned, that he checked himself in and he talked you through it. But what happens if he hadn't done that? And he had offed himself, and now you're like, well, what more could we have done? And so the feedback loop is always disaggregated in trying to help people. Um, and so the best we can do is just constantly bombard people with that feeling of inclusivity that you can talk to us. Just keep repeating that and giving people outlets outside of work, because especially in a place like the SEAL community and the special operations community where it's that you need to have that front. If you're in a position of command, you can't be showing weakness to your rest of your team. So giving people like that an outlet that is separate from work, that is similarly minded people who have potentially been there or at least can relate to what they're talking about, giving them that option to talk offline is really where I would like to present myself more. I don't know how I'm going to get out there other than talking about this type of stuff on our podcast and your guys' podcast, and really creating for lack of a better word, a sales funnel of mental health.
Yeah.
Drive people to like, hey, there are options out there outside of what your maybe your network is at the moment.
Base it off of tips or something. You could probably monetize it. Like, how helpful were you? Oh, very helpful. Okay, well,
Put a tip
you
jar out there.
recommended. And one thing, Stu, before, and I know we have to wrap up. One thing
Yeah.
that I want to highlight from that interview is, I think a big barrier too for a lot of folks is the idea that friendship takes a ton of time. One of the things that came out in the studies of loneliness, which I found fascinating, is it's not the quantity. It's definitely not the quantity of friends like your commander, surrounded by people and still desperately alone, right? It's not the number of people, and it's not even the commitment of a lot of time. And I just give you a quick word picture. Just imagine how you feel when a good buddy of yours or when somebody just calls you and it's a 5-minute conversation, but it's high quality, right? It's high quality. And so if we get past the idea that loneliness is going to require 10,000 hours of connection, blah, blah, blah. No, dude, it could be a 5-minute phone call, just high quality. It's not, hey, how are you? It's, hey, how are you? I'm good. No, no, dude, how are you? How's your marriage? How's your relationship with your kids? Like being that guy. Some people are like, oh, David, you're always that guy, but they appreciate it, dude. When we hang up, it's like, hey, dude, thank you for being that guy,
It's a
right?
phone
Thank you for
hug.
being that guy, right? It's a phone hug. And if we're in person, dude, I'm a big hugger. Like I'm all about hugs.
Oh,
And some of my
I've heard.
neighbors, Oh, dude, they're so uncomfortable with it, and now they're like, now they just resign themselves to it. They're like, "Oh, okay, okay, let's do it."
He
I'm
gets
like,
his chin,
yes,
and like sticks it right in your
yes,
neck and like rubs
yeah,
it in
dude, it's good,
there, and
man.
it's like super uncomfortable. Like he holds it for like 20 seconds. You're like,
But dudes don't want to admit it, but they love it. They love it, and they're not going to admit it, but they love it. But it's okay, right? It's just quality. It's the quality of the hug. It's not a bro hug. I don't bro hug, dude. I'm like, no, get your hand out of here. We're going two arms. This is how we're doing it. It's just a quality, right? It's not quantity, and it doesn't take a lot. It just takes a little bit. And so I just encourage anybody listening that, hey, like, explore that, right? Explore that 5 minute little conversation. Just commit to that. It's super easy, and start getting some of these quality things, and get past these stigmas, because it could be life saving, right?
let me go varsity on you a little bit. Beyond just the 5 minute conversations with friends, do it in person, right? Kevin, you said, hey, I'm still working out what that looks like for me. Like, hey, invite a dude to go surfing with you. Like, if you're gonna go surf anyways, like invite a dude in person to go surf with you and just hang out in the water, right? Greg, you said like every time you went to one of our meetups, you just felt full, right? It's true, man. Like getting in person, hugging it out, connection, going and doing fun things together, shoulder to shoulder, hugging it out, high fiving it in person. Like that's where it's at. Like
Well, it's
that's
not
what
like
we're
Stu said
missing.
anything inspirational, right? Like, you didn't leave because you're like, I'm so inspired by Stu. Like, that's not
Right.
that at all. It had
He
nothing to
wasn't
do.
inspired by my good looks and my flowing long
Your
hair.
flowing long
That's
hair.
exactly
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
Just
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh,
mesmerizing.
just in person community, man. Like in person, like getting together and doing good stuff together.
Yeah, man. Love it.
Dudes, this has been fantastic. Yeah, we could probably go another hour.
Easily.
But I
Easily.
know you guys have other things to do, run businesses and stuff
Nothing
like that.
better. Nothing better to do that.
Fair, fair,
Other things, not better.
fair. Hey, where do we send people to go learn about more? Bet Collective, your podcast, everything that you guys are doing. What do we put in the show notes?
It's easy. We changed our branding, hence the marketing stuff. We've been learning stuff. Short it down, so now it's just collective.vet. Uh, Easy to find us there. Greg and I are real active on LinkedIn, so you'll easily be able to reach out to us on that platform. Harder Not Smarter podcasts. We're on YouTube, Spotify, uh, Apple, Apple Podcasts. That's what I'm looking for, and any other little random ones, whatever Buzzsprout drops us onto. But yeah, reach out if there's anything. That collective community is growing. We're about to hit 100, I think, probably in the next
Nice.
couple months.
Nice.
So yeah, we're growing and really excited about that entire community.
Love it, dude. Love it. Hey, before we sign off, just want to express my gratitude for you guys, not only coordinating, you're in Europe and San Diego, coordinating your calendars, and honoring us with your time, but just what you guys are doing is literally through a passion of entrepreneurship, through a love of veterans, through a desire to enhance mental health and to be an advocate. You guys are doing incredible work, super meaningful, and literally saving lives. Like there's no other way to put it. Literally saving lives through community, through purpose, through intention, and through love, right? Like, I mean, you guys you love vets and you love to help others, and it shows, man. And so I'm eternally grateful, Greg, that you responded and jumped on a call on LinkedIn, and just how that grew into in-person stuff, and getting to meet you in person. Kevin, can't wait to see you, dude. I'm in San Diego. I go out there every
Come
year
on
at
out.
least once. So I didn't realize you're out there. So I will be we'll be hanging out next time I get out there, just to give you that. I would hate for you not to be able to experience
Oh, you
that
got to
hug.
experience it.
You have to
Got to
experience
experience
it.
it.
We have plenty of
And I have to
surfboards.
experience it, dude. I have to experience it too. But dude, you guys are awesome, man. Super, super grateful for both of you. Super blessed by both of you. So thank you guys for being on our show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks, too.
See ya.
Hey, for those of you who've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that Dave and myself transitioned out of a 20-year career in the military, in the Navy, and there were some really big struggles in that. And I'd say that for anybody that's in a transition of changing an identity, can have a really, really hard time finding a new identity and going through the struggles of figuring out what's next. We talk a lot about purpose. We talk a lot about tribe and community. We talk a lot about mission. And those aspects of a transition are really hard to figure out. So you need a community, you need a tribe, you need to have someone in your life that's going to hold you accountable and help you grow into this new identity. That's what we do in the Kinetic Man. We have a lot of military veterans in our space that we talk through on a daily and monthly basis of how to figure out what's next, how to figure out how to continue to live with purpose, live with mission, and be incredible husbands, incredible fathers, incredible leaders in the community, and incredible businessmen. We have a ton of entrepreneurs. We have guys doing deals together, investing with each other, and growing with each other to be the best men that they can possibly be so they can show up every single day for their families and for their businesses. If that's something that sounds interesting, come join us. You can go to thekineticman.com/signup, thekineticman.com/signup, and come grow with us. See you.
Thank you for listening to the Kinetic Man podcast. If you are growth-minded, community-focused, and willing to take uncommon action to redefine success and live an abundant life, visit our website at www.thekineticman.com to see all the ways we can connect.
And on our website, you can find more information on everything we're doing, like joining our meetup page to get the details on our webinars and our local Thursday gatherings here in Colorado. From our site, you can also find more information on and sign up for the next Kinetic Man retreat and the next house of our mastermind group. Finally, we always appreciate your love and support. Please share this episode and go rate us on your favorite podcast player of choice.
Thank you again. Now go take uncommon action.